All right, now that I've made a couple of videos and I've become an expert at this, wink wink, I thought I'd finally take a minute and let you guys know why is this channel titled Retirement Rerouted. Well, the biggest reason is my retirement was rerouted. The second reason is that title wasn't taken, so it was a good one to use, I guess. I had a couple of other ideas of what I was going to call it, but they were all used up already, and so I wanted to be unique. Although with so many YouTube creators out there, it's really hard to have a unique title. Although some people are more creative than I am. Anyway, um, it basically, the title of the channel describes my retirement life, or maybe what happened to it. So the title isn't meant to imply that my retirement went wrong or badly or off the rails. It just didn't end up how I envisioned it, myself and my wife. We had different thoughts, and some of that ended up being, some of our thoughts ended up working out, and some of them didn't. So what was the plan? So the plan was work, 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 then retire. That's the simple end of it, right? So I ended up retiring when I was 49. I had a decent job where you could get a pension after a while, which, most folks can figure out that was a government job. And I worked in IT, and I worked with some great people. It was a really nice job. And I had a nice time, and I'm still friends with lots of them because you work with them for so long that you just get to know everybody. And that part of it I really liked. So the plan was to be conservative through our life, and we were. We never drove fancy cars. We did take vacations sometimes. My wife worked off and on while I was had my job, but we were always frugal. We never had credit card debt. We didn't charge things. We would use those deals that they'd offer, sometimes like 90 days, same as cash, to buy something. Or if I had to replace a furnace at a house, I'd use the 18 months, same as cash, just to keep my money longer. So anyway, that was the plan. And we pretty much did that. The part where it went off the rails really was, I'd say, I don't know if you're even supposed to say this word anymore on YouTube, but I think they've finally done penalizing people for saying it. But the pandemic, it's really what threw my whole retirement plan off, because I retired in 2020. And when? May. So just a few months into the pandemic. So we had a large house. It was 3,500 square feet. And we didn't intend to stay there. We were planning to leave and move somewhere a bit warmer. And we didn't even know if we were going to move, because originally the plan was to travel. And as we all know, that kind of went down the tubes. No one was really traveling. But I didn't know how long this pandemic thing was going to hold out. So I just told my wife, I said, maybe we had two choices: do nothing and just sit and wait and find out what happens, or push forward. Well, because of the way my mindset was, and looking back, it was wrong. But the way my mindset was always, I looked at life as, I'm never going to be any healthier than I am now. And I have to plan on having the most fun I can have now. And I don't mean partying or going crazy. I just mean that if I'm going to do things that require activity, I need to do them today or tomorrow and maybe next month, but not much beyond that, because I don't believe that tomorrow's promised. So I told her, I said, let's just move forward. We had planned to sell the house when we retired, and I was all done with work. And then we were going to travel and see the world. I didn't know how long this lockdown was going to last, etc. So sold the house, put it up for sale, and it ended up selling really quick, and for a bit more than we were asking, but not the craziness that it ended up being. So the short reason of why that was a bad choice, actually there's two reasons. The reason it was ended up being bad to sell it was, I sold it for $600,000, and I ended up later on, I could have sold it for probably $950,000. So it went up $350,000 from the time I sold it. So that stinks. And I didn't invest back into the real estate market until much later, because I lived through 2008 and I thought, here we go again. I thought it was a bubble and I thought everything was going to crash, and then it didn't. And the crazy thing was, I had rental houses at the time, but that's always in a different bucket in my head. It's always like there's your primary residence and then there's investment junk, blah, blah, blah. So I always just, it didn't matter to me that the rental houses were going up in value, and it just didn't. It was just this separate intangible bucket to me, and my primary residence was always this tangible bucket. So what I'm getting at is, if I lost all my money in my primary, I would be devastated. But the rental houses go up, the rental houses go down. I didn't care. They went through the crash and I just didn't care. It just didn't make any difference to me because I wasn't using the money at the time and the tenants were paying the rent, so who cared? It didn't make any difference. But I was always very guarded with the pile that was our primary residence. So we sold the house, took the money, and we're very safe with it. We didn't invest it too heavily, which, again, looking back, another mistake, because the stock market went nuts and, the safer route didn't make a ton, but it did go up, but not as much as if it was just back in the house in the first place. And so that was the mistake. Sold the house too early, just pushing forward. So what did I do? I bought a little teeny house as a rental that was a dump, and I paid nothing for it and fixed it up myself. That was my first home renovation. It was horrible. Hiring subcontractors during that time and to do stuff like drywall that I just didn't want to do. Ooh, it was horrible. And I'm not a handyman at all, so there was some stuff I screwed up at that house. But it was definitely a big learning experience. I would say in the end it ended up looking not too bad, considering I was a newbie at it. I didn't film any of it. It's all just in my head and in some pictures, but it ended up being okay. And that house, I paid $250 for it. It's probably worth $450, and I put about, I don't know, I have a spreadsheet of it because at the time I thought it was going to be a rental, and it ended up not. So that house, I probably put about 40 in renovations, kitchen, flooring, paying these guys to do the drywall. And then I had a big story about the driveway. Boy, there's so many stories. I had to just write them down because that was a whole nother thing when I left town for a while and the weeds came up and the city got mad. But that's a whole nother thing. So anyway, I ended up cramming into that house. So what was the second mistake? I'm glad I remembered because sometimes I lose track. So the second mistake was I ended up needing that huge house, the square footage. I could have used it because my mother-in-law came to live with us, and we had kids later on in life, and they're still with us. And so I thought we were all going to travel. The traveling didn't work out because we all got kind of stuck at home, quarantined. And then the mother-in-law I told you that ended up coming to live with us, we ended up having to move up to where she was at because her husband passed away and we had to help her out with the house. And so the whole traveling just got sidetracked. It was a little of help her out and a little of we couldn't go anywhere anyway, so whatever. But I should have just kept the house at the time because the house payment was nothing and the taxes were low because I owned it, bought it a long time ago, and there was a tax cap on it because it was a primary residence. So yeah, that's how the whole thing went south. And going on from there, I would say that was the first rerouting. I wanted to travel the world and we couldn't. All of 2020, we just lived in the woods with this mother-in-law in her place up in the sticks, and we would go to town every once in a while, and we were just kind of hiding out. We weren't afraid, freaked out from the pandemic stuff. We weren't scared of it, but it's just she happened to live in a remote place, and so whatever, that's what we did. So we lived up there for probably a good 7 months, clearing out all the acreage that she had and whatnot. So I think I'll leave this as part one of I don't know how many. I don't want to go on for too long because I'm noticing on the click through or whatever it's called, nobody's watching these. They watch them, they click for 2 seconds, and then they're done. So if people have an interest in this, then I'll keep going with it. But again, remember, like I end every video, the whole point of this channel is to prove my wife wrong, because I know that it won't be successful because there's a zillion people out there making content far more fascinating than mine, and it's way more polished than mine. So if you made it this far, cool, thanks, and have a good one.